I opened my heart last night in a meditation and asked Spirit to give me a message of any sort, and boy did it. There's a new movie coming out of Mortal Kombat, and what's weird is the first thing that shows up on YouTube after all this is something that's like about a talk about violence on television, which I thought was really interesting because I had a vision before that, but the vision wasn't, I don't know, it's very hard to explain. It's a piece of that allness matching into the one. And the best way I can say it is that the new Mortal Kombat movie coming out, not only have I seen it, I've lived it, but I was lucky enough for Spirit to show it to me in a way where I could see it, and I could emotionally feel it, but I couldn't physically feel it. And then it said, do you want the experience of the physical feeling? And I said, no, I don't. They said, good, because if you did, you would be morbid. And there's too many people out there right now that are literally training their kids to grow up to be a killer, to make it okay to kill each other. I mean, I will tell you on a spiritual level, on a very huge spiritual level, yes, it is okay to kill each other, whatever. But if you personally want to experience any sort of pleasure other than a morbid pleasure, you need to get away from watching anything that has violence. And I'm sorry, because I myself grew up playing all the Mortal Kombat games, loving the RoboCops and the Predator and Terminator and those movies. But now that I have experienced them, I am one of the very few people, I hate to admit, I can watch those movies and be totally fine because I've experienced more than them. I've been through the lives of the people and felt them. I've been them, and I was allowed to remember all of it. All of it. I wouldn't put this on anybody, but at the same time, everybody's going to get this when they die. But in a human body, I wouldn't put it on anybody because it's a lot to live with. It's a lot to deal with, especially when I'm ignored as a human being and going about a normal everyday life as a bread guy. How silly. I was just at a stop trying to tell this dude because he was telling me about a TV show he saw about a guy called Into the Wild, and this dude ate the wrong tree and da-da-da, and he died because this happens if you eat the wrong thing, and this kind of food is bad for you. And I'm like, don't tell me that stuff because I am the world's greatest shaman. I've actually lived all the lives of every shaman, every animal, every insect, everything. And for me to try to pinpoint and focus on each one of them would take too much time for me to even possibly explain. But as time goes on, when people ask me, it's right here for you. If you want to know anything, I can answer it. But whoopee-doo, it doesn't mean anything to me as a person, because I'm not trying to say, ooh, check me out. I'm just trying to say I'm done listening to what people have been telling us, and I'm ready to tell everyone the truth about everything. And I'm going to try to do it in a way where it takes every personal bit out of it, and it only leaves you with what you're creating. So that way, I don't want to tell people my story so they can have my story. I want to tell them the truth of who we are so they can live their story to the fullest. That's what I'm going to do. So this experience, last night, I felt like I had gone through hundreds of years of living to live the lives of the people who went through that, to see how they were brought up, to see why they thought it was okay to go fight wars and do all this stuff, to see how they went into a place that crossed dimensions and went into a place where they fought. It was like an astral battlefield. And Mortal Kombat itself is basically the story of a astral battlefield. And I was there. I was in every fight. I was all characters involved. And I lived it. Luckily, I didn't have to feel it because I've already felt enough pain through lives. Through this knowingly being an astral projection or a lucid dream or a metaphysical, what would you call it, revelation. Other than that, I've felt 10 times, infinite times more pain than that. Right now in my personal life, I can personalize little things like missing my children and turn that pain into the most excruciating pain. And each of us does that. Not getting what we want, we can turn that into the most excruciating pain. We think that dying is painful, so a lot of us in our minds go through this excruciating death. There's no such thing. There isn't. When you bleed, you bleed. If you think you're dying when you bleed, somehow that becomes way worse. That's the truth. But until you understand it, you can't get it. And I want people to understand it so that I'm not just talking to a wall. When I tell people, I know what I'm talking about, so please don't tell me, because I've lived through this, man. And I know you look at me as a joke because I'm just the bread guy that you see, and you're the pop guy. You know, and I was like, you think that your name is this. I have experienced my other lives. I've experienced life itself, not other lives, but how can you say this in the words? This is what messes it up. I've experienced all life. So those other lives, as I say, is the best way to explain what I mean, I've already experienced. So when people tell me about what they've heard and not what they've experienced, I just can't listen to it anymore. Even my own parents. An idiot is somebody who has an idea of somebody else's ongoing inside their head. I-D-I-O-T. Identified, derived, identity, ongoing, plus who you are. That's plus. That's what it is. You're adding it to yourself. So an idiot is someone who takes someone else's idea and believes it without disputing it, without clarifying it and making sure for themselves that that's true. The world is idiots, and I'm done with dealing with idiots. I'm here to cure the idiocracy.